What is going on, guys? Welcome in here. It is Rover Sports reporting here. College football Saturday in the books. Hell of a week, hell of a weekend. Huge win for the Georgia Bulldogs. I got to give them a ton of credit. Jake Fromm, 243 touchdowns. He played great today. Isaac Nauta, I think his name is, the tight end. Florida's defense was terrible. Dan Mullen called a horrible game on 3rd and 8 when Florida was down by 9 points. He decided to run the football in the middle of the field on 3rd and 8. Really conservative play calling in the game from Florida. And Florida really didn't look good. And then they're trotting in for the first time. They're bringing in Emory Jones, and that just takes all the rhythm away from Jake Fromm, or from Felipe Franks. Like, Felipe Franks isn't that good anyway, but the fact is, if Felipe's going to be your starter, like, why don't you just ride with Felipe? And Felipe he missed on the flea flicker. But really today, Florida didn't take the game to Georgia at all. They played to lose the game. They didn't take any deep shots down the field. Felipe Franks wasn't aggressive in this game. Florida's defense couldn't get pressure on Georgia. Georgia won the line of scrimmage today. Jake Fromm had all day to throw the ball. Florida was terrible. They were undisciplined. They made tons of mistakes. The energy wasn't good in the second half. They got mauled by Georgia. They got absolutely pummeled today. They weren't close to beating Georgia. I mean, they hung in for the first 3 quarters, but then they withered away. I mean, Florida, they got to get a better quarterback in there. Felipe had that one good throw, but they also need to show more urgency with play calling. Todd Grantham had a rough day today. No blitz calls, just really conservative defense all around. Florida didn't do their thing. It was a terrible performance by the Gators, the worst performance of the season. Even the Kentucky game, Florida showed a little bit better fight. But it was just ugly. It was ugly football. In the Vanderbilt game, Florida came back. They didn't do it tonight. All around college football today, other storylines. The Clemson Tigers put a beat down. Clemson puts a beat down on Florida State. Clemson is the second best team in college football, and heck, if their defense plays the way it's playing, they're going to end up being the best team in college football. When they were playing Syracuse, when they were playing these other schools like Texas A&M, they weren't rolling like they usually do. And you got to give the Clemson Tigers an incredible amount of credit, because Clemson is going to the playoff. They look great. So we have Clemson looking great. If LSU beats Alabama, Georgia is going to the playoff, because I don't think LSU can beat Georgia twice. Not the way that Jake Fromm is playing. Jake Fromm is the missing piece. Georgia's defense was not even that great in the first half. They're not as dominant as last year. They were still missing a lot of tackles in the football game. But Jake Fromm now being confident and not having to worry about Justin Fields coming into the game for his Wildcat formation, like, it just is distracting having Justin Fields come in. Give this year to Jake Fromm and see how far Fromm can go. Now, if Alabama beats LSU, then Georgia's not going to be in the college football playoff. But it will be very interesting to see if a one-loss Alabama that loses to LSU next week, if they get into the college football playoff. Because right now, I think Oklahoma and Clemson are the most dangerous teams to Alabama. I think that those teams are really good. Kyler Murray is performing at an all-time high level. He is a big-time quarterback, and if he wanted to, Kyler Murray could play in the NFL. Kyler Murray is that good of a quarterback. Oklahoma, with their new defensive coordinator, they are capable of possibly beating Alabama, possibly beating Clemson, and possibly making the national championship. Now, Michigan's a good team and Notre Dame. So you're down to pretty much 5 teams. One team is going to get left out of the college football playoff. It's going to come down to Michigan or it's going to come down to Oklahoma. And for Michigan, they are going to beat Ohio State, and then they are going to probably play a Purdue. No, they're going to play a Northwestern, I believe, in the Big Ten West is a joke. So I believe if Oklahoma runs the table, unfortunately now Oklahoma State's going to beat Texas. So that loss to Texas is going to get worse. And Oklahoma is probably going to play Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. That's what I would probably predict, because Iowa State is a really, really good team. Iowa State might just beat Oklahoma in Dallas. That's going to be a tremendous, tremendous football game between those two teams in the Big 12 championship. But it's going to, because Notre Dame is in. Because Notre Dame, if they're undefeated, they're in. Clemson's in. Alabama's going to be in. If LSU wins, then it's going to get pretty interesting, because then you might have conference championships and then you're going to have Alabama. But the safest teams that are in are Clemson and maybe Notre Dame, as Jarrett Guarantano gets sacked, ball gets out, South Carolina recovers, South Carolina looks like they're going to win. A choke job by Tennessee. Guarantano's just not that good. Tennessee had an 8-point lead in the fourth quarter. They gave it up. Really disappointing loss in Columbia tonight. The Volunteers could have won tonight. Other news, Missouri's offense is a joke. Kentucky football, their offensive coordinator, Eric Gran, or whatever the heck his name is, Eddie Gran, was fighting with Benny Snell today. And the thing that ended up happening was Terry Wilson ended up getting the team back, clutchly drove them down the field for a touchdown, and that was a remarkable finish, and I'm happy for Kentucky football. Missouri football, their offense is terrible, but so is Kentucky's. I doubt Kentucky can beat Georgia, but now that Kentucky won today, I'd give Georgia about a 70% chance of winning next week. They're just a better team. If Jake Fromm continues to play the way he does. I mean, Kentucky's defense is pretty great, but I don't think I could beat Kentucky because their offense with Terry Wilson has just been terrible. But luckily today, you know, they played extremely, extremely hard. And it's interesting seeing Jeremy Pruitt now yelling at Tennessee. This Clay Helton plan is pretty wild, or this Ty Helton plan on offense, really conservative. All other news in and around college football. Kendall Briles' team with an amazing win today. You got to give Kendall Briles a ton of credit for Houston. You got to give Kendall Briles. That offense is absolutely spectacular. Then let's look at coaches on the hot seat. I believe Gary Patterson is one of the most overrated coaches in college football. They love him there in Fort Worth. TCU was a Mountain West team, not the highest of expectations in the state of Texas, because, you know, you have Texas there, you have Texas Tech, you have other Big 12 teams that have been there a long time. Gary Patterson loses to Kansas today, and then Clay Helton. When is Clay Helton going to get fired? He loses today to Arizona State, and he loses to Herman Edwards today. Jack Sears comes into the game, really has a good statistical day for USC. So Sears is showing a lot of talent, and I think Sears can possibly go somewhere and transfer because JT Daniels is going to be healthy. Also in college football, looks like Texas is going to lose today. The Georgia game was interesting. Arkansas really disappointed me. I thought Arkansas would take the momentum they took from Tulsa and would actually get an SEC win. And I don't think that Arkansas is now going to get any SEC wins because their defense is just putrid. And really frustrating. They had Vanderbilt at home. They had a great opportunity. They decided not to play Connor Noland. They played Ty Story today and Rakeem Boyd on the ground. And it was a frustrating loss for Arkansas. So I got the Missouri game wrong. I got Arkansas wrong. I did get Iowa State correct. I picked Iowa State to win today. And Georgia killing Florida. I thought Florida would play a lot better, so that was very surprising. And now, as long as Rico Dowdle stays down in bounds, this game looks like it's a wrap in Columbia, South Carolina. The Vols are going to lose this game to the Gamecocks. SEC East is also just hodgepodge of teams. Big win by Washington State. They keep pace in the Pac-12. I'm excited for Washington State. I think it's awesome for Mike Leach to get a win. I don't think they're anywhere near the teams that I've mentioned, but big-time win by Washington State today. Give them a ton of credit. So when you look at the playoff right now, Notre Dame's going to win, get a big win over Navy. I am excited to see Notre Dame go up to Evanston tomorrow, next week and play Northwestern. Northwestern beat Wisconsin in the Big Ten. Will Michigan's resume be good enough versus Oklahoma's? Because I think Notre Dame, Alabama, and Clemson are in the college football playoff. And then you're going to need to see if it's going to be Oklahoma. Oklahoma needs to go one loss, or if it's going to be Michigan. And the name brand of Michigan, Jim Harbaugh. Oklahoma was in the playoffs a couple of years ago. The committee will select Michigan, even though I think Oklahoma has a better offense. And if Oklahoma's defense plays well, then Oklahoma should probably be in the college football playoff. But things are going to work itself out. I doubt that all these teams are going to go undefeated. The most undefeated team that I'd feel comfortable with is actually Clemson and then Alabama. I think that Notre Dame could get tripped up either to USC or to Northwestern. So that would leave Oklahoma and Michigan fitting in there to a T. And that's how I see this final going. I see Oklahoma and Michigan getting in. There is no way, I believe, there is no way that Washington State is going to beat Colorado. And it would be an incredible accomplishment for Washington State to even win the Apple Cup over Washington. That's not going to happen either. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little synopsis of college football today. Hope you guys are having a great day. The World Series is very interesting. And tomorrow, I'm going to be watching the Giants game. And then I'm going to come home and I'm going to probably rewatch a little bit of the Ravens game, Ravens-Panthers. I'm definitely going to watch Sam Darnold and Mitchell Trubisky. Going to take notes and watch that game. And then, of course, I did mention the Bucs. I mentioned Bucs-Bengals. I mentioned Trubisky. I mentioned all of those teams. Ravens-Panthers. The 1 o'clock hour is going to be very, very good. I'm going to go back and watch some of those games. But congratulations to Georgia. Because if you get LSU, you're going to have a chance to redeem yourself and get into the college football playoff. You beat a Kentucky team, you win that game, and then you are going to have a chance to go ahead and win. But Florida is not close to UGA yet. Dan Mullen with one of his worst coaching jobs we've ever seen. Give credit to Joe Moorhead on a big bounce-back win over the Texas A&M Aggies today. And overall, college football, a wild day. And next week's going to get even crazier with the matchup in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, between Alabama and LSU. Thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful night. Enjoy football tomorrow. Rest up, guys. NFL ball is tomorrow. See ya. Thanks for watching. And have a great night, guys. Take care.